only written in history books, but also captured in films and storytelling that reflect the nation's struggle and triumph. Today, we are honored to have two prominent figures in Namibia's film industry, Vickson Hangula, filmmaker in Free Namibia, and Armas Shivute, an actor, director, and writer, joining us to reflect on Dr. Nujoma's impact on the Namibian film industry and to share their personal memories of them. Vickson, Armas, thank you so much for making time to join us and to share your experiences with this towering figure in the form of Dr. Sam Shavishwina Nujoma. Vickson, let's perhaps start off with you. Your first personal encounter with Dr. Sam Nujoma. What were what was the environment like at that time?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's really, I want to salute an icon of the African liberation struggle. And my first personal kind of face-to-face meeting with him is when I was selected to be the scriptwriter or to, do the script for his film, the autobiography. I was then given about 2 weeks or so, holed up in a hotel or a lodge to do the book, to adapt the book into the screenplay. And on top of that, I also had then to meet with him. There are some questions and some feelers that I needed to have with him. And so I went to the State House a couple of times to also talk to him. And so it was, of course, first quite intimidating to be sitting with this, and I remember really being nervous, but he was so open with me, and sometimes he would even prompt me with some questions like, oh, well, in your notes to me, when you wanted to ask questions, there's this question that you forgot to ask me. And then he goes down memory lane and so on. So. It was quite an experience that I will not forget in my lifetime.
Absolutely. Armas, you've been in the almost said the music industry, but the film industry or creative industry for so many years. What was Dr. Sam Nujoma's impact on ensuring that young Namibians have a space to tell their stories?
Yeah, Jonas, thank you very much for having us. And, I will probably answer your question in this fashion, that in most cases, we expect things to be put on a silver platter for us and to say, this is how I'm going to contribute towards your career or your future. But in the case of the icon that we are celebrating today, the fact that he sacrificed quite a chunk of his life in trying to liberate us, this nation, and give us an opportunity to be able to sit here today and speak about what we are speaking about, and able to sit here today and speak about, like you said, I've been in the film industry for quite a long time. I have been because of his sacrifices. Previously, I cannot remember many in the colonial time, especially black people, if I may put it that way, that can tell you that I have had a good career prior to independence. So it is because of the heroes such as Shavishwina that we are celebrating today, and others that joined him in the liberation struggle. They made sure that every Namibian will have an opportunity to explore in whatever avenues that will bring about or shape their careers. Now, when I said we expect people to be given things, or people expect to be given things on a silver platter, freeing the nation on itself, it's already a contribution to whatever you wish to do in life, because then now you are doing it as a free person, you are doing it with all your rights around you. So the coming of independence, the freedom that we so much enjoying today, the peaceful nation that we live in today, is because of the contributions of Dr. Sam Shavishwina Nujoma, and we can freely say we are actors, we are filmmakers, we are that and we are that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vickson, talk to us about where others wavered. You did touch on briefly, how you were approached and, the work that you had to do to condense, we're often talking over 60 decades here of a man's life. Talk to us about how much of a challenge was it, and maybe also, what are some of the new things that you learned during that process of creating that film?
Yeah. No, I always held a view that a story of Dr. Sam Nujoma cannot be told into like 2 hours of film that picture ended up to be. It was always my opinion that a personal feeling that we had to do maybe a series, like we had to do a series of over maybe 26 episodes, and still that will not be enough. And I feel strongly that the story really needs to be told proper by Namibians. This was directed by an American director. I did the screenplay, and then he changed it the way he wanted to be, with also Femi Kayode, who was from Nigeria. And so I still really feel that a series needs to be, and the proper story needs to be told by Namibians. Behind the scenes, really, there was a whole lot going in. There were not so many experienced Namibians at that time. We were all doing what we could do. The executive producers like the late Dr. Kaumbi and so on. We were all really just doing what we could do to do this. And luckily it ended up to be what it is, even though still not what it doesn't do true justice to what the story should be. Yeah. And I'm always saying that in America today, it's so great. It's a great nation, or is viewed as a great nation, because even though they were beaten and routed in Vietnam, the stories that are coming out there are the heroics. Yeah. Now, how about the only country that I can say that has a very tapestry of liberation struggle success? That needs to be done. There are millions and hundreds and thousands of stories out there that needed to be done today. I was looking at today at a clip where we had all the former fighters, and they were still in their hundreds, if not thousands. Yeah. And all those people's stories needed to be told.
Absolutely.
How many films will you not be able to tell out of that? How many TV series? Where are the autobiographies? All these things. So we have a rich thing that I'm scared, even in my lifetime, I will not be able to finish them if I have to produce every day. So, we still need to have a bit of a long way to come and tell a story that does justice to the one of the founding father and everybody that participated in the freedom that we so enjoy today.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that you made reference to the Americans, which I think many will agree that they can tell one hell of a story.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up watching all these war movies about them fighting in Vietnam, you actually thought they won.
Yeah.
Until you come read into history books and wait a minute. Yeah. So this whole Rambo thing is a lie.
Yeah, it's a total lie. Yeah. Black Hawk Down, all these other films, they really, when you look at the Black Hawk Down now, they have a documentary about it, and
There's one in Somalia.
The story that was happened is far from what we were shown on the film.
Yeah, and I think that brings me to my next question, Armas, which is the importance of owning the narrative. We find that as time goes, especially we as Africans whose history has been passed on orally, you find that the version of this one uncle differs from the other one's version, and at the end of the day, somebody's life's experiences have been watered down because of the inaccuracies, inconsistencies in how the story is being told. With the power of film, how do you think can we change that and own our narrative so that children and children's children, 20, 30 years from now can watch a story about Namibians and know that it is written and shot by Namibians with the accuracy and the truthfulness that it deserves instead of it being watered down by somebody from outside who might have an entirely different agenda.
Yeah. Exactly like Vickson just alluded to now, that Namibian stories need to be told by Namibians. Why so? It's very simple. relatability. How do I relate to telling a story from South Sudan? Number one, I have never lived there. I don't know their culture. I don't know their history. I know nothing about them. But if a story is told by a Sudanese who grew up there, who knows the culture, who knows the history, who can relate to the events, it's much easier. And the other thing is also that we need to stick truthful to who we are, and we need to pass on this very beautiful, rich heritage to the next, or to pass it on to the next generations. Now, when we came, we were just watching TV in the holding room, and we could, there was school learners that were talking about Dr. Nujoma and holding a picture of him. Now, the question is this child speaking from what they heard from the teacher? Did he or she read it somewhere? Is it documented somewhere? So, you know, this child, after 10 or 20 years, how is he going to narrate Dr. Nujoma? So this history need to be taught to our children at a young age. Gone are the days when you were taught about a computer that you don't even know how it feels when you touch it. You understand? So my point here is really to say Namibian stories by Namibians, yes, maybe we might lack here and there, and we might need to bring in an expert in a certain field, but not to come and supervise Vickson, for example. How do you come and tell Vickson how to write a Mandume and Mfayo story? Point blank.
Yeah, Vickson, I know that, you know, I don't know if you could tell, but I also grew up in an African home.
Most definitely.
And the creative industry has always been looked down upon by our elders. When a young person expresses their desire to be a filmmaker or a musician, and of course also knowing our socioeconomic situation in the majority of, you know, African families, it's like, what are you going to do, you know, making films? They want you to become a doctor, a lawyer, you know, something respectable. Has that perception changed over the years when you sit down with the very people that said, this film thing will never take you anywhere, and they look at something that you have done and the credits roll and your name is there? What do people say, and how has it changed over the years? Is there a bright future for young filmmakers in this country?
It's only us that can do that. You know, like I'm a parent now, and I was a child of parents who grew up in that background to say, look, you have to become a doctor, you have to become whatever. And I was very good at school. And my mother wanted to disown me when I told her that my life is in the arts, is in the industry. In fact, when I resigned my full-time job at the Polytechnic of Namibia then, where I was working at the library and reading my film books and so on, she wanted to disown me. And until I made my first film and then bought a house. That's when she said that, oh, well, you've been working for like 5 years or so. You never was even able to buy a car or something. And with your first job at this thing, you bought me a house. That's where it went down. And I'm always saying that it's a perception that still needs to change. Yeah. With us now, if my son wants to be a filmmaker, I will understand. Or he wants to be an architect or whatever. So fortunately, 30 years plus after independence, that other kids going to College of the Arts and doing camera or sound recording, and not because there is no other option, but because they really are passionate about what they want to follow. So this is also there, and we thank that to the contribution and of, for example, Dr. Nujoma, who gave us this freedom to help people to change the mindset and so on. So yes, there is hope up there, I believe.
Yeah. But perhaps just quickly on that one.
Yeah.
And, you know, the narrative will also just change with the belief in ourselves, the trust in ourselves. The film industry will only be an industry, really, if it is commercialized. The corporate world need to come on board and trust the process. Not only trust, believe in the process also. Only when you sit at home, your son says, I'm going on set, you know your son will come back with something that will buy bread. That bread contributes to the GDP. So it's a whole community setup that need to change its mindset before the whole narrative changes and believe that this industry can be an industry like any other. Yeah.
To wrap up our discussion, I had a very interesting discussion with Dr. Professor Armas Shivute yesterday, where I said, we as Africans, don't believe that we die. We're spirits. We move on to the next level. We are promoted to a higher level, and that's the same instance with Tate Sam. Wherever he is right now, how do you think he would want the Namibian story to be told? Vickson, let's start off with you. I know it's a very philosophical question.
Yeah, no, I totally believe, because even talking to him, I can remember the excitement of him. It's like, oh, so you are going to tell this story. And he was also saying that, look, there are other stories that I want to see in my lifetime. The stories like of Peter Nanyemba, Peter Enias Nanyemba, Tobias Ainyeko, all these things. That man was so passionate about the history and the country of that he fought so hard to liberate. And yeah, so I believe, and also the one thing that I really taking my hat off, the president-elect now, Netumbo, she filled me so much with hope when she says that there are three sectors that she wants to look at: youth, sports, and the film industry. She pointed it out, and that fills me with much hope and anticipation and expectation that finally we will have our own soap operas, that telling the story, whether it is modern or the history, or even way back in during the War of Resistance, the Mahareros and the Mandumes and all that. And so that I'm sure it will come, But chief of all, I still believe the founding father's story needed to be retold. That I hold strong.
All right. Armas, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny because the whole mourning period since the passing of the late icon, when I look at his stories, I saw more of a storyteller than a president. Because whatever interviews that he have had, it was always in a fashion of storytelling. Visualizing things. Yeah. If he is with his little ones at home, he would be telling them stories. I met him briefly at Otavi, at the service station. I was with Mayor Monica Ulenga, the late Monica Ulenga. We were passing by, filling up the car, and then she saw the founding father, and then she said, oh, they started, let me quickly go and greet him. I said, who doesn't want to greet Ateku? So I followed. When I followed, this guy does not want to let go of us. He was telling stories one after the other. And I believe now where he is, because like you said, we believe we only elevate to some other areas, we don't die. I believe where he is, and hearing us speaking or saying things that we are saying now, and hearing us talking about storytelling, I'm sure he's smiling with hope that a tradition in Namibia will not die. Because that's one thing that he really wanted to uphold. And he believed that a nation that is rooted to its culture, to its tradition, will always grow and will always unite. And I think the best way to keep his legacy alive is through storytelling with the cultural upholding in its place.
All right, brilliant. Armas, Vickson, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure if we had a whole day, we'll discuss, at length, but that's another discussion for another day. But thank you so much for making time to share your personal experiences, your personal stories, and of course, your aspirations as well for the Namibian film industry, and acknowledging the impact that he had on the industry, and allowing, individuals like yourselves and many others to tell so many other Namibian stories.
Thank you
so much, gentlemen. All right.
Thank you.
I was Vickson Hangula and Armas Shivute, prominent figures in the local film industry, sharing their thoughts and their experiences with the late Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma, and also the way he paved the way and to allow people like themselves and many others to tell the Namibian story. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.